Thank you very much for joining us today at Inflection's Quantum Blueprint webinar 2024 and beyond. Today, we have a lot of important things to tell you about the quantum industry, quantum technology, and what Infleqtion has been doing in quantum computing and many other fields. Our agenda today is in 4 parts. First part, our CEO, Scott Faris, will give a corporate overview and strategy. We'll then move into a general discussion and progress report on what Infleqtion is doing in neutral atom-powered innovation, and then a focus on quantum computing. Our final session will be a Q&A period. For those of you who have access to it, at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A button. Please type your questions there. We will keep track of them during our webinar today. And at the end, our panelists will answer your questions. Today, we have 4 speakers: Scott Faris, our Chief Executive Officer; Paul Lippman, our Chief Commercial Officer; Pranav Gokhale, who is our Vice President of Quantum Software; and me, Bob Sutor, Chief Quantum Advocate for Infleqtion. Scott, I'd like to turn it over to you now to give our corporate overview.
Thanks, Bob. Again, welcome, everybody. I want to talk about what Infleqtion is doing today in the quantum industry, but really want to set the stage before we dig into our roadmap. The quantum is a buzzword. It's a buzzword that really people use today to talk about the future. I believe it's always misused and is widely misunderstood. But as a pioneer with nearly 16 years of focus on understanding the potential of quantum, Infleqtion has a deep understanding of what quantum technologies can unlock and is now postured to deliver. We view quantum not as an end, but rather as a means to enable the next information age and technological industrial revolution. It will require new hardware, new manufacturing techniques, new software, and entirely new ways of thinking to advance its potential from lab curiosities to practical, useful products. We believe we are rapidly transitioning from what I see as the quantum research era to the quantum product era, and this is advancing at rates most people don't realize. Like AI, which recently exploded onto the scene, quantum research has been quietly advancing for the past 30 years, has now hit a critical inflection point where practical products are possible and are needed. The rate of this transition is being also driven by 2 macro-level parallel advancements, such as scaling of AI on one end, as well as the fundamental challenges we now face in addressing the new realities of our world's global geopolitics. As you will hear today, our quantum-enabled machines are stepping up to address today's challenges in network and data center scalability, and will be the foundation of building the next generation of secure, scalable network infrastructure by allowing customers to dramatically increase productivity with modest changes to their current enterprise ecosystem. Our quantum-enabled machines are also addressing critical national security gaps in ground and space-based networks, ensuring the U.S. and our allies can operate successfully in GPS-denied and network environments. As you also hear today, our investments in quantum state machines, such as quantum computers, are enabling the foundation of a new area of information transmission and information processing, creating ultra-secure, ultra-scalable, and powerful new tools for addressing some of the world's most pressing challenges, but I think more importantly, for inventing what I like to call the next. As you will hear today, Infleqtion is singular focused on unlocking the power of the atom to deliver new, exciting products and solutions at size and price points that allow for wide-scale adoption across many industries. Infleqtion's core technology is the power of the atom. Many years ago, we were promised the atomic age, and it never really materialized. In that age, we saw flying cars, all kinds of advancements living in outer space. And for the last 70 years, we've really only witnessed the destructive power of atomic technology. Infleqtion is unlocking the positive power of atomic technology and bringing it into a technological advantage to create the next generation of information. We view atoms as nature's perfect qubits. Unlike other modalities, we use qubits that have been around for millions of years. They're perfectly predictable, they're perfectly scalable, and they're readily available. The challenge that we have is not in our qubits. The challenge that we have is unlocking the systems and the infrastructure around qubits to make the most value of them. This approach allows us to scale across many products and many markets, as you see here, and we'll learn more about during the course of today's discussion. starting with atomic clocks, radio frequency receivers, inertial sensors, and ultimately moving into quantum computing. All of our products are built around a core foundation of lasers, atomic prisms, and quantum software. These fundamental building blocks, these Lego blocks, as we like to call them, allow us to get to critical mass in core technologies while we unlock products over time and as they mature. The products that we'll talk about today are focused on being compact, rugged, and portable solutions. Moving beyond the era where we look at quantum products as test beds of lots of lasers and optical focuses. So you'll hear today, we're going to start talking about pushing the boundaries of the next age of quantum technologies as we move into PICs, integrated optics, that allow us to build these products that are very small, but also more importantly, can be at price points that can be scaled on large scale. The approach that we have in doing all of this is really how do we bring quantum from lab to scalable operations? We're leading with a comprehensive foundation of core technologies. Again, we'll talk about some of these during the course of the day. But at the core of this is 16 years of experience of building atomic prisms. Infleqtion has powered the research community globally for the last 16 years, allowing not only our researchers, but researchers in quantum labs around the world to begin to explore the possibility of what could be built and what can be unlocked with quantum capabilities. We're now at a point where we can start to leverage this 16 years of research, not only in our own labs, but in the labs of our partners, which I'll talk about in a few seconds, to begin to bring ready to market products today, solving today's issues. More importantly, we're also focused at the intersection of hardware and software. We believe that this is not just a hardware revolution, but a software revolution that goes hand in hand. Again, Pranav will talk a little bit later in today's presentation about the software innovations that are going on inside Infleqtion that parallel the hardware innovations. We believe that the hardware and the software innovations at this stage of this disruptive technology need to be intimately coupled. Hardware innovations powered by software innovations are really the true power of unlocking quantum products and capability in the future. We also believe that the supply chain challenges facing quantum are quite large. The industry, again, is in a research phase right now. Most of the companies that are building quantum products and pieces are in fact companies that are building at research scale. Infleqtion is taking a leadership position on addressing these challenges for scaling the supply chain, not only for our own needs, but more importantly for the needs of our partners and for the industry as a whole. Until we unlock the supply chain challenges, we believe that quantum technologies will not successfully scale from the lab to the product world. And this is why we're taking a leadership position in this industry. The last piece of our strategy is really having a global presence. Again, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, our 16 years of experience has been selling products and working with research centers around the world. The real strategy for scaling quantum is to really, how do we collect the best minds in the world to work on the most challenging problems in the world and unlocking and building quantum systems. Our international footprint allows us to do this. And as you see here, we have a large footprint in the United States, working with many academic and research institutions in the United States. Most recently, an announcement of working with Texas A&M, followed by the University of Santa Barbara, in a number of groundbreaking areas that we believe will advance research into the product realm. But we also have a growing research operation in Oxford, United Kingdom, one that we've established in Melbourne, Australia, and a recently announced efforts in Osaka, Japan. More importantly, we've expanded beyond just the Earth and actually been operating in outer space. As one of the first companies, I believe only companies, to actually successfully have launched multiple quantum systems operating on the International Space Station, we have proven that quantum is not only ground-worthy, but it's also space-worthy. This is an important part of the quantum future because what quantum will allow us to do is not only solve the challenges that we face on the planet, but it will allow us to really branch out and explore outer space in ways that were not thought possible. 23 was a big year for Infleqtion. We had several 100% growth in our bookings in the organization. We launched a number of new products, a number of new firsts that we think are quite important for the industry, starting with new innovations in core quantum hardware that will power the next generation of research, power the next generation of products, expanding our footprint geographically, working with the UK to launch practical scalable atomic clocks, working with the US Army on demonstrating the first real feasible QRF capabilities. Now we're using quantum systems to actually act as antennas. As you hear about from Paul a little bit later on, really groundbreaking work with a number of other global partners in scaling and bringing to market more practical quantum computers in the near term. And now I will turn this over to Paul to start talking more about our product line.
Thanks very much, Scott. As Scott mentioned, Infleqtion is delivering products that address real-world commercial markets today. We lead the industry in core enabling quantum technologies, including ultra-high vacuum cells, what we term atomic prisms, photonic integrated circuits, quantum subsystems, including our recently launched desktop MOT product, and quantum control systems. Our commercial products are built on top of these quantum cores, and they're all enabled and optimized and accelerated by our quantum software platform, SuperStack. Ticker, our optical atomic clock product, is available for pre-order today and delivers orders of magnitude improvement in precision compared to current timing standards. In the near future, we'll be bringing to market SkyWire, a revolutionary quantum radio frequency receiver with broad dual-use applications. This will be quickly followed by Exact, family of rugged, highly configurable quantum inertial sensors in a highly deployable form factor. We'll shortly be demonstrating some of this technology on airborne and seaborne platforms. The main focus of today's webinar, however, is the Scorpius program, in which we are developing a pathway to large-scale, commercially useful, fault-tolerant quantum computing. And importantly, Scorpius leverages and is accelerated by much of the technology underlying our broader product portfolio. Infleqtion leads the market in commercial optical atomic clocks. Our first generation product, Ticker Prime, is a 3U rack-mounted system available for pre-order today, providing up to 100 times the precision of the world's timing standard, the cesium beam clock, and over 100,000 times the precision of a typical crystal oscillator. Ticker has immediate application for assured PNT, position, navigation, and timing, providing a holdover timing reference in GPS-denied and contested environments. We're also particularly excited about applications in data center and communication markets. We're partnering with one of the world's largest technology platforms to develop capabilities for optimizing next generation data centers and communication networks. We look forward to sharing more about this relationship in the near future. While the 3U form factor is ideal for data center and telco, our vision is ultimately to deliver hard-sized and chip-scale timing systems at lower price point. This reduction in size, weight, power, and cost is facilitated and accelerated by our recently announced HIC acquisitions, which I'll talk about shortly. SkyWire is a game-changing quantum radio frequency receiver for defense and commercial markets. The system uses laser-controlled atoms to detect radio signals rather than a conventional antenna, delivering high sensitivity at low power consumption. This enables a very compact form factor with a single receiver head, providing ultra broadband tunability across a wide portion of the RF spectrum, from kilohertz to many hundreds of gigahertz. And because there are no front-end analog electronics, as you would find in a conventional receiver, the system is also highly robust against jamming techniques. This combination of form factor, tunability, and power requirements makes SkyWire ideal for enhancing the efficiency of commercial communication networks and an invaluable addition to the secure communication needs of the national security community. I'm going to turn now to the star, if you will, of today's webinar, Infleqtion's quantum computing roadmap. In short, our goal is to deliver fault-tolerant quantum computers at the scale necessary to deliver real value in substantial commercial markets. As I'll explain, we've made substantial recent progress in the key dimensions of performance, including gate fidelity, scaling to large qubit arrays, and error correction hardware and algorithms. Everything we do in quantum computing is highly leveraged by Infleqtion's investments and leadership in the foundational enabling technologies of atomic prisms, photonic integrated circuits, quantum software and compilers, and control systems. I'll also announce, as Scott mentioned before, some exciting recent system wins that further bolster our roadmap and engineering pathway. Over the last 9 or 10 months, we have substantially boosted gate fidelity in our system, achieving close to 3 nines in 1 qubit gate fidelity, close to 4 nines in global 1 qubit fidelity, and 98.7% in 2 qubit gate fidelity. Our team has a clear line of sight to continued improvement on all of these. Our goal this year is to achieve 3 nines in local 1 qubit fidelity, 4 nines in global 1 qubit fidelity, and 99.5% in the fidelity of our 2 qubit gates. Importantly, these end-of-year targets put us beyond the early error correction threshold. And in addition, we have demonstrated a decoupling of gate fidelity from increase in the size of our qubit arrays. On the topic of qubit arrays, I am delighted to announce today that Infleqtion has achieved the world's largest qubit array. The image you see on the left is 1,600 qubits in an array that's actually narrower than a human hair. This is not just trapping atoms, but we've actually demonstrated quantum state control across the entire array. You'll see on the right a chart of single qubit gates executed across all of these qubits. The beauty of this approach is the scalability of these densely packed arrays. Unlike other modalities that will soon require the interconnect of multiple QPUs to scale, which comes with a whole range of engineering and fidelity challenges, this neutral atom approach can scale to tens of thousands of qubits in a single core, providing a pathway to array sizes necessary for utility scale fault tolerance. A key challenge in creating logical qubits is the ability to perform fast and low crosstalk ancilla qubit measurements for error detection. Fast in-place circuit operation targeting multiple atom pairs in parallel can be executed with photonic integrated circuit-based beam scanners. We use a dual species atomic array to solve the error detection challenge by allowing for in-place measurements with completely negligible crosstalk between the data and ancilla qubits, because we're using different wavelengths of laser light to address each of the atomic species. The upper image here is our dual species error correction system in Infleqtion's Madison, Wisconsin facility. And the image below is a real image, obviously false color, of the ancilla and data qubits within this system. The purple atoms you see here are the data qubits of cesium. The green atoms are the ancilla qubits, which are rubidium, all operating within that same error correction system. We've mentioned photonic integrated circuits, or PICs, a number of times. We recently announced the acquisition of 2 PIC companies, Synoptic and Morton Tonics, both based in Santa Barbara and both leaders in the field. Importantly, Synoptic leads the world in extremely low-loss silicon nitride technology. And low loss is really important in the visible and short wavelengths that we use in quantum computing. This chip-scale technology enables the delivery of highly stable, ultra-low noise laser light that is required to achieve high qubit gate fidelity. We're essentially taking the lasers and optics that you'd see in the typical quantum lab, filling a bench, an optical table, and ultimately over time, miniaturizing this down to a much smaller, more modular, and importantly, more maintainable form factor. This is important both in terms of the development of next generation quantum computers, but also in terms of its applicability to our clocks and sensors with deployability in a wide array of environments. Infleqtion has been working with Synoptic and Morton Photonics for some time. And as you can see in the chart on the left, which was work conducted by Dan Blumenthal, who leads Synoptic and is at UCSB, where we have integrated our atomic prisms with PICs to demonstrate the delivery of low noise laser light to the atoms. Infleqtion's capabilities and leadership in the development and engineering of quantum computers has been recognized by two leading national quantum computing programs. Infleqtion is the only foreign company selected to join Japan's Moonshot program, which has the goal to realize a fault-tolerant quantum computer at commercial scale that will revolutionize Japan's economy and society and security. We'll be delivering actually the world's largest neutral atom quantum computing testbed as part of this ambitious program in conjunction with the Institute for Molecular Sciences in Okazaki. We were also delighted this week to announce our selection by the UK's National Quantum Computing Centre to provide a quantum computer to their testbed program. We're developing a large-scale universal quantum computer, in fact, not really a testbed, but a fully operational system. And we'll be partnering with Kinetic, a leading global defense prime, on application development on this system. And both of these programs, importantly, are highly leveraged with our core quantum computing roadmap. The focus of Infleqtion's quantum computing roadmap, the Scorpius program, is to unlock the era of true quantum computing commercial value within 5 years. Our application team has modeled and projected that commercial scale computation in material science, energy, and contextual machine learning become accessible at the 100 logical qubit scale with circuit depths of around 1 million. But it's not enough to have large numbers of error-corrected logical qubits. You also need to be able to complete calculations in a reasonable period of time. So another critical component for our approach will be to deliver high circuit operation speeds. So this is what we are focused on delivering: a system with over 100 logical qubits, capable of logical circuit depth over 1 million, with kilohertz rates logical circuit operations. We'll show you shortly in our roadmap specifically what we mean and our timing and pathway to get here. Now, I've talked in some detail about the hardware aspect of our capabilities and approach. I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Pranav Gokhale to talk about how software and algorithms factor into this vision and roadmap.
Great. Greetings from Chicago. And I'm thrilled to tell you about our quantum software investments, which, as Scott and Paul have referenced, are designed to complement and parallel the equally important investments in hardware. And so let me start by stating our conviction that 2024 is an inflection point, not a tipping point, for the investments that we've made into quantum software over the last few years. And the reason for this is deeply connected to the core philosophy of extreme optimization that we're taking with the quantum software stack. And in particular, what we mean by that is a lot of our activities center around going to every single layer of the software stack, finding optimizations, and then compounding and multiplying those optimizations across the stack. So a 2x here and a 2x there eventually build up to 100,000x advantages across the stack, which are now sitting on top of amazing progress in the hardware plane as well. And so what this has advanced into is the release of our flagship quantum software platform, SuperStack. And our view here is that this technology is going to be just as transformative for quantum computers, that is QPUs, as the CUDA software ecosystem has been for GPUs. And so on that note, I'm going to take the liberty of sharing 3 vignettes of where our customers are using SuperStack to achieve breakthrough performance improvements in the application sector. So on the next slide, I'll just summarize that the key differentiator of SuperStack on this, the following slide, is that it, in a nutshell, enables force multiplication of the underlying quantum hardware. And so you'll see on the next slide that the neutral atom quantum computer that we built in Colorado has already benefited from the force multiplication of SuperStack. And so here's on the left-hand side a result from a recent publication whereby we were able to show experimentally that equipping our hardware with SuperStack is equivalent to 400% improvement in the equivalent 2-qubit error rate for our gates. And essentially, the way to think about this is delivering years worth of hardware progress, device physics engineering, but virtually today, instantly, through a cloud-based software platform. And while our platform is very hardware specific in how it compiles and optimizes, I also want to reference that it's also hardware agnostic and hardware universal. And on the next slide, I want to highlight some results from our customers in other hardware modalities, such as superconducting qubits. So here's an example that was published with our customer, the Advanced Quantum Testbed at Berkeley Lab. And this is one of the world's leading quantum computers with the superconducting modality. So what we've shown in published work is that when they equip their hardware with the SuperStack compiler to really target the underlying specifics of their hardware, they're able to get a significant improvement for a variety of tasks, such as an AI machine learning application. So in this result, we ran an unsupervised machine learning task of clustering, and we found that the SuperStack compiler tool, again, delivered over the cloud, is able to achieve a 250% improvement in the end performance clustering. So this is another instance where we have a customer who's taking SuperStack to force multiply the advantage of using their hardware. And then I'll finally reference an example of a customer from the trapped ion space. So this is the Sandia National Laboratory quantum computer called QScout, which is another world-leading quantum computer. And an application that this is a preview of something that will be published quite soon. We have run the quantum volume application, which is perhaps the gold standard of system level benchmarking. And in fact, here, there's not even a percentage improvement that I can specify, because this is literally unlocking a capability that is otherwise not possible. So for the technically minded, we're able to achieve a full quantum volume that is delivered through a SuperStack compiler that without our compilation techniques, it's not possible to achieve that level of quantum volume. So across the board, you've seen 3 examples from perhaps the leading 3 qubit modalities, neutral atom, superconducting, and trapped ion, of how equipping hardware with this force multiplier of SuperStack is really upping the game for the performance that the application end users achieve. And so on that note, I want to now go a little bit deeper into the application side and tell you about first an exciting announcement, which is that Infleqtion is leading the quantum thrust at Defense Cyber Marvel 3, DCM3. So this is Europe's largest cyber warfare exercise, and Infleqtion next week in Estonia will be supporting the convening of over 700 cyber specialists across Western European militaries who will be engaging in a variety of activities. And in the quantum space, their journey will be led by SuperStack. And in particular, they will be leveraging the SuperCheck protocol that we announced about a year ago to unlock new quantum advantages for tasks like authentication, fingerprinting, copyright enforcement, tamper detection. And we're really excited to just unlock innovation from the cyber specialists for this challenge. We're equally excited to announce that this is occurring in partnership with Oxford Quantum Circuits, and we will be providing the participants of this exercise with access to the Toshiko quantum computer from OQC in dedicated mode through SuperStack. The second application area that I want to reference is pioneering work we're doing on the next slide with contextual AI and machine learning. So this is work that Infleqtion has pioneered in collaboration with academic institutions, and it's a set of new quantum advantages that were previously unknown for any type of sequential data. And in a nutshell, what this technique enables is leveraging quantum properties to extend the context windows for addressing data. And for those of you familiar with modern machine learning, this is the bottleneck and the preeminent challenge in modern machine learning, how wide you can get your context window, whether it's ChatGPT or any sort of machine learning model. And what we're finding as we deploy contextual machine learning to a variety of applications is that this leads to powerful machine learning performance boosts. And to highlight three of the examples of programs that we're running with customers, first off, in the oncology space, we're running a program with Welcome Leap in conjunction with partners at UChicago and MIT to achieve performance boosts for classification of cancer cells and experiment design with contextual AI and machine learning. In the genomic space, we have a DARPA award to understand the genome better by using longer context windows for addressing base pairs. And in the defense sector, we have a strong partnership with Kinetic and a number of activities in the UK where we're applying contextual machine learning to intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance tasks. So this is a quick statement of where we think that application layer performance is evolving. But I want to end on one very exciting announcement, which is on the next slide, we are proud to announce the alpha launch of a new open source software package for QLDPC. And this is, as Paul has referenced earlier, error correction is here, and there's still a lot of room that needs to occur to achieve the applications that we want to run in the near term. And so the QLDPC library is a library that enables the construction of breakthrough quantum error correction codes that have dramatically higher resilience and lower overheads than previous approaches to quantum error correction. So this is available open source today. For those of you interested, I encourage you to check out the GitHub and pip install the QLDPC library. I also want to reference that this software development is occurring hand in hand with our view of where neutral atom architectures are going to leverage QLDPC codes. And in particular, the investments that we're making into the photonics and beam scanning are co-designed with our investments in quantum error correction. And already I can preview that the QLDPC library has been used to discover entirely new codes that set new records for performance, and also reevaluate and learn new things about previously known codes. So on that note, I'm going to pass it back over to Paul to connect the dots to our big picture and our roadmap.
Thanks very much, Pranav. Really great on software and algorithms there. So to summarize on our quantum computing roadmap, again, our vision over the next 5 years is to unlock the true commercial advantage. This year, we'll deliver a 1600 physical qubit scale computer and at least 2 logical qubits with error detection implemented by our dual species approach and innovations in software for circuit optimization and logical qubit operations. In the 2026 timeframe, we will implement full error correction with a system of at least 10 logical qubits operating a universal quantum gate set with circuits of logical depth above 1000 at a logical operation rate over 10 kilohertz. We'll also be implementing novel beam steering technologies to support further scaling. The ultimate goal of this roadmap is our 2028 objective of a truly commercial scale, fully error-corrected quantum computer with over 100 logical qubits executing circuits of depth over 1 million at a logical operation rate over 100 kilohertz. This system will unlock value in a wide range of commercial applications across markets, including material science, energy, and machine learning. Importantly, all of these systems will be data center ready drawing less power than it takes to charge a Tesla car. As mentioned, we're building systems for major national programs and customers. If you would like to learn more about our quantum computing plans, perhaps have interest in your own system, please do get in touch. We'll share contact information here shortly. I'll now hand back to our CEO, Scott.
Thanks, Paul. Again, as you heard today, lots of exciting things going on in Infleqtion. But let me reemphasize, this is based upon 16 years of neutral atom technology leadership. What you see today and the products that we're building today, the products that we want to build, is the culmination of a lot of work of a lot of great researchers over the last 6 years, now focused on building products. Infleqtion by far is the preeminent company in the world in the area of neutral atom technology. What we learn and the value of what we learn in one product flows to all of our products. As I like to say, we have more shots on goal at interfacing the intersection of light and atoms than any company in the world. And what we're doing now is leveraging that experience, sharing that experience across the organization to power product development in the products that you heard about today, in products that are still in our pipeline going on in our research labs. Again, this is focused on research, but more importantly, this is now focused on bringing commercially viable products to market, markets that exist today with products that we can build today to solve practical challenges that we face today, to create scalable commercial revenue as a quantum company today, while we continue to develop the products for the future. Again, our focus is unlocking the true commercial value of the atom and of the quantum age that we've all been promised and we're now prepared to deliver on. Thank you for your time today. I will turn it back to Bob.
All right, thank you very much, Scott. All right, so before we go to the Q&A and let you see everybody here who's been speaking, I'd like to tell you about 3 upcoming webinars. It looks like we're doing about 1 a month now from here on out. March 21st, we're going to go much deeper into the SuperStack, in particular with error correction, how software is really going to enable quantum computers to do practical error correction. On April 10th, we have a webinar particularly for the defense area. We're going to look at security, defense, and aerospace. On May 8th, we're going to look at enterprise applications of quantum technologies, not just quantum computing, but other ways that quantum technologies, such as the ones that we've been talking about, such as Ticker, can be used in companies today. Now, we want to give you some contact information here. If you are an investor and you'd like to speak to our CFO, Alok Gupta, please send him an email. Paul is more than happy to answer any questions about our products and our roadmap. And for general inquiries, if you're with the media or an analyst, please contact Sarah Shoup, who's our VP of Marketing. So now let's go to the Q&A. Though, Scott, I'm going to ask you a question that has come up quite a bit. We use the phrase inflection point quite a bit. And let's admit it, it wasn't an accident why we renamed the company a couple of years ago to that. Do the investors and customers you talk to agree that the quantum industry is at an inflection point, that is something fundamentally different is happening today than we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I think that's a great question over the last few years. And I think there's a number of macro level events that are starting to occur right now that really are driving this inflection point. It's the preparedness, the readiness of the technology. But I think really what's starting to create the inflection point is that the real market applications are starting to become quite evident. Again, a lot of conversation around quantum computing and when we hit the inflection point for quantum computing, and we're a big believer we will hit that inflection point. But as you heard today, that's not for a few years down the road. For us, the real inflection point today is not in quantum state machines, but what rather we call quantum enabled machines. Again, we're using quantum physics to unlock new capabilities and precision and performance and reliability, but producing traditional data that allows us to address challenges with AI scaling, as I said, also allows us to address critical national security challenges that need to be addressed today, again, in the broader world. that we're seeing today. And so this focus on quantum enabled machines, I think, is new to investors. Most of the focus has been on compute, quantum networking, but long before we get to that at a scalable solution, quantum clocks, inertial systems, as we talked about, quantum RF, are going to deliver real value and real scalable commercial revenues to the marketplace.
Paul, second question is for you. Now, just a little bit of personal history. Before I joined Infleqtion, I was, shall we say, at a superconducting quantum company. And one of the things that attracted me to the company, which was then called Quanta, was the versatility of the approach, the quantum approach. Not only could neutral atoms be used for computing, but the other sorts of applications. What's the reaction you get from customers? I mean, you have a much larger portfolio to speak to customers about than just computing.
Yeah, great question, Bob. I would say in the commercial products that we're bringing to market today, and I'm thinking here most specifically of clocks, customers and partners caring about the capabilities of the product, the timing, precision, for example, that we're able to achieve with our optical atomic clock ticker, which I'll re-emphasize is available for pre-order today. So it's the quantum technology and the atoms that enable those capabilities, but it's really the capabilities that are first and foremost. And as Scott said, our focus really is delivering product. And by product, we mean something that a customer can take and use to solve a real world commercial problem today. So it's less about the underlying physics and more about the capabilities of the system. I think the other example, the other great aspect, or maybe a couple of great aspects of atoms in the scenario of inertial sensors that we talked about, and as I mentioned, we'll soon be testing some of these inertial sensing technologies on shipborne and airborne platforms, is the fact that actually the atoms are held in place by lasers with hundreds or in some cases thousands of Gs of force. So it makes these systems inherently rugged and deployable in a wide array of environments. So that's one kind of key advantage of the atomic approach here. I would say the third, and again, in terms of quantum computing, as we think about scaling up beyond thousands of qubits to tens of thousands of qubits and even beyond, is this inherently scalable nature of this particular qubit modality. So I think there's a lot of excitement in the industry about atoms, about the capabilities that they enable both today in terms of real world products for real markets and in terms of the future direction.
Okay, Pranav, I'm going to pick on you for a little while here for quantum computing. We mentioned dual species as an approach for quantum computing. So two different types of atoms. Can you talk a little bit more about what we're doing with them and how that will eventually lead to better error correction?
Yeah, sure. And the answer is right in that question too. It's error correction. So when we look at the leading ways to do quantum error correction, if you sort of draw it out, it looks exactly like a checkerboard or a chessboard where you have two different colors and they alternate. And so that's exactly what's needed for quantum error correction. And that motivates the selection of two species. And in particular, you can think of in quantum error correction as every alternating round, you take all of the squares of one color on the checkerboard and measure them all. So this is the maybe primitive that we want to be really good at and are really good at now with dual species, which is that in one zap, we can get every single color of a qubit measured or manipulated at the same time with very high fidelity, as Paul showed numbers for. And we can do it without any interference or crosstalk. And so that's kind of the motivation for this alternating colors, alternating species of atoms. And I'll highlight that we have pioneered the way for single species as well. And in fact, did the first, Mark Softman, our chief scientist for quantum hardware, showed the first mid-circuit measurements for single species. But we really think that for quantum error correction, there's just a very hand-in-glove fit for having two species.
Second question comes about generalizing our approach for quantum software. So we've talked about SuperStack for quantum computing, but clearly, I must say, you've got a gifted group of people who are working on software. How do you see the role of software extending into other types of quantum devices that Infleqtion might provide?
Yeah, this is a great question. And in fact, I see one from Doug Fink, the analyst, and so I'll tie these together. We are very much looking and actively applying the same underlying technology across the quantum hardware portfolio. So to give one example, hopefully many of people in this audience have seen the exciting launch of Octant, our quantum matter machine, which has cloud access, a very novel way to do quantum. And our team is also looking at doing things like machine learning for the control of those types of systems, which obey very similar mathematical and physical governing equations as for quantum computing. And so to highlight some of those activities that we've got a program funded by DOE called QFI Opt, whereby we're taking the technologies we're applying for things like making better quantum gates and turning it into technologies for better quantum sensors. I'll highlight another application. We're thinking deeply about where the Ticker product line can be applied to use cases that accelerate data center loads, apply to energy grids. And in fact, in last year's EPRI Quantum Computing Challenge and Quantum Challenge, we actually won both a Quantum Computing Award and a Clocks Award. So the software team very much is looking at finding unifying ways to address all these types of hardware and make sure that the software stack is not segmented for each one.
Yeah, there's a question here about whether we're producing Ticker in advance of orders. Are we building inventory? Absolutely. Our team is hard at work building Ticker units today. I think you saw a preview actually in one of my slides of a really beautiful design for the system. We've actually already shipped Ticker units, early prototype units to customers. They're operating today in some leading data centers. And we have a range of customers around the world that are interested in Ticker for a variety of the use cases that I discussed. So if you do have interest in Ticker, yes, certainly please do get in touch. We're ready to fulfill orders, and we're happy to talk both about the immediate Ticker, the Gen 1 that I talked about, Ticker Prime, but also about our roadmap for future generations that I discussed at a high level, at least earlier in the webinar.
Maybe extend that. I think that's a great question. And I think this goes to really one of the core strategies of this company. As I've alluded to, the industry for the last 15 years has been in building what I call research prototype volumes. We see this through the supply chain. We see this through products. We had an announcement last year where we're partnering with the University of Texas and others to actually build the first scalable quantum manufacturing facility. This will be done here in Austin, Texas. The goal of this is to really advance the volumes of the component technologies as well as the assembly, test, and validation technologies to bring quantum technologies, quantum products to market at scale, as I said, at price points that ultimately are enterprise class price points. We call this strategy of really stepping up to be the world's first quantum prime, where we bring together the core technologies, the assembly technologies, the software technologies to really build integrated solutions that we can bring to marketplace and that we can bring into market in partnership with some of the companies that we've already announced we have partnerships with, and companies that we will be announced that we have partnerships with. We fundamentally believe the path to scalable quantum is also tightly coupled to solving the challenges with manufacturing scalability, manufacturing integration, and manufacturing price points. And these are investments that we're starting to make today in people and infrastructure, and investments that we're going to continue to make over the next 2 to 3 years to allow us to get product to market.
So, Scott, for you again, I'm going to combine two of the questions here. So the first one, or part one, what commercial real-world problems do you see solved by the offerings you're bringing to market this year and next year? And two extends that a bit. The products you have presented are very impressive. It's great to see quantum applications hitting the marketplace. What do you see as the most pressing commercial application quantum technologies can address in the next 5 years?
Sure. So I think relative to the near-term product line, we've talked a lot about Ticker. And as Paul alluded today, we're starting to ship early versions of the Ticker for data center applications. These are rack mount units. But ultimately, what we're bringing to market, as I like to say, we've working on a path to take what today is a $500,000 large-scale desk-size clock and reduce this down to something smaller than a pack of cigarettes, and something that will be several $1,000s in cost. And so this is driven by the manufacturing innovations, the PIC investments, other investments that we're making. But one of the things we're very much focused on right now is the challenge association with precision time protocols. Time is something that most people don't think about, but everything runs on time. The world runs on time. And there are two issues with time today. One, time is less reliable. Our time distribution infrastructure is largely through GPS satellites. In many ways, time and GPS is the fourth utility. It just runs in the background. We've built an entire multi-trillion-dollar global economy based upon the assumption that we'll always have access to GPS signals and the timing signals associated with that. I don't think we live in that world anymore. I think we have to think about how we build more resilient networks for time distribution, how we build terrestrial distribution time infrastructure. And that's the challenge that Ticker is designed to solve, not only for enterprise applications, but for defense and security applications as well. Longer term, again, talking about the quantum, the Skywire program, this challenge not only extends into basically time assurance, but we also have to address the challenges of frequency access and assurance. Access to RF frequencies is also becoming challenged, and the Skywire program is designed to not only provide more assured access to frequency, but more importantly, create entirely new capabilities, how spectrum is used, how it can be secured, and how it can be scaled at price points, again, that don't require huge upfront investments, but rather with a series of technologies that can be deployed at low cost, that are highly robust and are highly scalable. More importantly, I think if you think about what the product line starts to look like, these systems also work together. Ticker, Skywire, the inertial, all of these have discrete markets unto themselves. These are all technologies that address today's challenge. Collectively, they also are a system. The system that we start combining these, we can start to think about enterprise class GPS infrastructure, where we can build private terrestrial networks of assured access to location, assured access to time, assured access to frequency, as we start thinking about combining these products together.
Oh, question for you. How do you see the world's largest tech companies, both hardware and software, evolve in quantum tech from their legacy internal efforts? And how will we collaborate or partner with companies in the neutral atom space?
Yeah, so I think there's perhaps a couple of pieces to this. I think if you think about the largest technology companies in the world, there are a range of scenarios in which utilizing quantum technologies within their businesses are going to be important. Certainly, as I mentioned before, we are partnering with one of the world's largest technology companies to advance timing synchronization for next generation data centers. How do you make more efficient use of compute? How do you make more efficient use of databases, especially in a world in which, as we all know, AI workloads are rising exponentially? I think there are similar opportunities with precision timing and timing synchronization to improve the utilization and utility of communications networks, both within the data center and in globally distributed systems. I think the other side of the equation is you're seeing a number of the world's largest technology companies investing heavily in quantum technologies and a range of modalities. I think the atom-based approach, as we're all seeing and as we've laid out today in the webinar, is showing tremendous promise for scaling and delivering commercial utility. So I think there will be plenty of opportunity for the atom-based approach to have real relevance for the quantum technology roadmaps, directions, and engineering pathways for some of the world's major technology platforms.
Pranav, back to you for two quick questions. First one, can you explain the difference between the global and the local 1 qubit gate fidelities?
Sure. So essentially, the global gate is able to zap every qubit with one large microwave. And that's very useful. For instance, if I want to make a superposition of every single state, if I have n qubits 2 raised to n, I can just zap every single qubit with one global pulse. It's exactly identical on every atom. The local is when I want to do something different on each atom. So I want to measure in a different basis, or I want to do single qubit rotation that's partial on one. And that involves a specific atom addressing beam laser that's powered by the photonic technology that Paul and Scott have mentioned. And that is going to be a single site addressing beam. So they're different protocols. They have different usages over the course of execution of quantum algorithm, and therefore different fidelities. But in both cases, we're benchmarking them with state-of-the-art techniques that account for every source of noise, and we hold ourselves to that standard for making sure that the reported numbers account for leakage, they account for atom loss, and so forth.
Okay, last question for now. So we've talked about the impressive number of atoms we're now putting in these arrays. This is a somewhat general question, but do we anticipate just creating larger and larger arrays, or will we somehow eventually have to connect these?
This is a great question. And one of the advantages of this technology platform is that we can squeeze thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of atoms on a single device, and that's qubits. As Paul referenced, the image that we showed was the width of a human hair, less than that. And so we don't think we need networked devices until we get to, let's say, hundreds of thousands or millions of qubits. That said, at some application scale, we will eventually need to have networked devices. I think that's much further along, even far beyond when we'll have commercially exciting applications. But let's say later down, 10 years down the road, I think we'll envision networked systems. And another advantage there is that the neutral atom approach is very compatible with photonic interconnect and optical wavelengths. So we think that there's a strong path for networking. We don't need it yet.
I think this is a good example of the cross learning in the organization. Again, what the QPU team is focused on is very kind of a structured scaling of atoms. The other parts of the organization, we're already learning how to put extremely large universes of atoms in play. Again, not for compute, but the experience, and this is what I refer to shots on goal, of just learning how to deal with tens of thousands of atoms simultaneously for other applications that we're developing. That information does flow over. It does inform the work. It provides some pathway type of leadership for the quantum compute team. And conversely, the lessons that we're learning on quantum compute, where we need to have absolute precision over the atoms, that technology flows backward as well into the sensor programs. And so this is really the elegance of really a single modality. Again, allows us to develop a multitude of products that we can harvest over time, but it allows us to learn efficiently. It allows us to learn very cost effectively. And so investments that we're making in PICs are investments that flow over to compute and vice versa. And so from a capital efficiency perspective, I believe that this is probably the most capital efficient quantum computing and quantum technology company in the industry because of that.
Scott, thank you for those closing words, and thank you to all of us for joining us today. We'll be following up with each of the attendees to give you more information about what we talked about at the webinar today, as well as future events. Thank you. Take care.